You are listening to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, where each week we have a conversation with everyday martial arts practitioners. From the first motivation to train, martial arts enriches our lives and becomes a lifestyle. Welcome to the individual stories of those martial artists living that lifestyle. You are listening to the abbreviated version. For those of you checking this out on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Full-length versions of this podcast can be subscribed to at our Patreon page, is www.patreon.com/malmag. Or individual full-length episodes can be purchased at our Gumroad page at malmag.gumroad.com. Before we begin this week's program, I would like to remind you to check out martialartslifestylemagazine.com to see articles on the martial arts. Click on the Store tab to find products for the practice of Southeast Asian martial arts, featuring Timmy B's brand sticks. Check out the Courses tab, currently featuring a course on the Dos Manos method of the Filipino martial arts. Also check out our Places to Train page, featuring top quality martial art academies from around the world. And of course, check out our events page for seminars and events coming up around the world. To see your school listed in our Places to Train page or your event on our events calendar, contact us at malmagonline@gmail.com. This week I get on Zoom and I connect to Australia and I talk to my old friend Chan Griffin. We talk about how he got involved in martial arts, how an exchange program to Brazil made him fall in love with the art of Capoiera, how he got involved in stunt work in the movie industry, his training with Nino Pilla, and consequently Dan Santo, becoming a fight choreographer, and much more. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, and today, for the first time, I'm actually connecting on Zoom to Australia, to Down Under, and this is a very old friend of mine that I enjoyed my time with, and I haven't actually seen him for like a million years, it feels like, and now I'm actually having a chance to look at him face-to-face through Zoom. So this is a very talented martial artist and stuntman, and I believe he even do some acting, yeah?
Oh yeah, I used to. I'm getting I used to for
And
sure, but yeah, I'm doing a lot more of the stunt fight coordination nowadays. So
coordination
yeah,
now. Cool. Well, this is
yeah,
Chan Griffin. So let me throw your name out there, and you're in Adelaide, Australia, or around the Adelaide area, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I live in South Australia in Adelaide, but I'm up in the Gold Coast at the moment working.
Oh,
So
okay. Gotcha.
yeah,
Wow. All
yeah,
right. Well,
it's
both
great.
beautiful areas. Been fortunate enough to be to both when I came with Guru Dan in December 2018. I came out there for
Yeah,
that, and
awesome.
I had a good time. I think it was really hard for me to pack up and go back. Mainly because Guru was going back, and I'm like, I think he might need my help back there. Otherwise, I think I would stay.
Accidentally missed my flight. Oh,
Yeah,
whoops.
whoops, and again, oops. Yeah,
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 it's
it was
amazing
nice. I did.
having Guru coming over. We're really fortunate to be able to get him to come here for sure.
Indeed. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about how you got involved in martial arts and all this fun stuff. What's your origin story?
Yeah, well, I started martial arts when I was about 14, 13, 14. I started just with a local karate school. It was called Golden Knights over here. And I just loved it. I did it for about a year or so, and then I wanted to sort of get away from my parents a little bit because they were very overbearing, and at that age they should
Oh
be
no,
too.
you talk about having us. So the stereotype of Asian parents in Australia is the same as in America.
Well, the funny thing is that they, because I was adopted when I was about one, so
Oh, okay.
they're actually Australian,
Oh dear.
but
Okay.
yeah, which is funny, hey. But they were very beautiful parents, and I was very lucky to have them. They were very protective and helpful, but I was so surprised because when I was 14, 15, I wanted to get away, so they said, "Oh, why don't you go and do a student exchange and go overseas somewhere?" And I was like, at the time, I really wanted to go to America because we'd just gone to America for a family trip. So I was
Oh
like, oh
wow.
yeah, I really want to go to North America and do a student exchange. And they're like, oh, how about something a little bit more cultural? And so we had a look around, and they said, oh, how about you go to Brazil, somewhere crazy? And I was like, okay, I'll go
I'm having a
anywhere.
laugh that there's
Either
no
way.
culture in America. I love it. More cultural than a multicultural country. But it's
I
like, yeah, don't
know.
get that generic version. Let's go for the real deal, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's I don't know what it was exactly. I think because the Australian culture and the American culture are a
Are
little bit
similar,
more
yeah.
similar,
Right.
but like Brazil was just left field in a way.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
awesome.
yeah,
Going
it
in
was
deep into something that's just really different. That's cool.
yeah, it was so different. So they originally got a student exchange person to come over to us, and we hosted him for 6 months, a year, I think. And he was such a beautiful person, and we really loved him. And so I was able to go to his family and have a 6 month student exchange over in Brazil. And that was just life-changing for me. And whilst I was over in Brazil, I discovered Capoeira. He was like, "Oh, why don't you go and try this thing?" And I was like, "What is it?" It's like, "Oh, it's a martial art, but it's like got all these different cultural elements in it and stuff." And I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a go." And I just fell in love with it, and just trained. And then by the time I came back to Australia, I was obsessed with it so much that all I wanted to do was work and save money to be able to go back to Brazil again. So I kept doing that, and that sort of really kick-started my martial arts journey, which was beautiful. So yeah, like Capoeira for me, and like some of the viewers, I'm guessing everyone who does martial arts, they would kind of know a little bit about Capoeira, but it's kind of a mixture of martial arts and dance and music and acrobatics, and there's a lot of cultural elements that are sort of infused into it that are really important too. You can't kind of just do martial arts aspects or just do music or just do the acrobatics. You kind of have to do a little bit of everything, which I found super amazing, I guess, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And it's a
yeah,
it's a mixed culture too, because you're talking about
that's
African
right.
culture. You're talking about the
Yeah.
Latin culture, all this sort of mixed in that thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's two kinds of styles of capoeira. One is capoeira regional, the other one is capoeira Angola. And a lot of the capoeira Angola side believe that capoeira originally came from Africa, and uh, it started there and then came over to Brazil. But a lot of the more modern day people think that capoeira was started in Brazil and with a lot of the African elements that were infused into it. So, as it developed over time, a lot of people believe that the African, because there's so many different kinds of tribes, like over 500 tribes at the time, um, that were all sort of put into these almost like concentration camps,
Right.
and, where they were on farms and stuff, and they were all working together, and they all had different kinds of languages, so they couldn't really speak to each other very well. And some of the tribes, like some of the African people who were in these farms, they were sometimes warring too. They didn't get
Right.
along or whatever.
Right.
But because they were in this unique situation where they had to sort of survive together, um, they were able to, cross cultures in a way, from one tribe to another and cross different ways of actually infusing their dancing styles or their martial arts styles or their way of doing things together. And that's what sort of developed capoeira over time. And then obviously there were other people from the native Indians that were also captured and also put into these camps as well, these farms as well. And some of that culture started to infuse into what we now know as capoeira as well. So it's quite an interesting journey for capoeira because It was something that was seen more of just like a cultural dance because they would hide it from the slave drivers and the
Hmm.
farm owners. And just like whenever they would come around, they would just like, oh yeah, it's just dancing and a bit of music and all of this sort of
Right.
stuff. And then they would start to sort of practice a little bit more in secret that they were actually trying to develop some kind of way of fighting as well, fighting back against their oppressors. Um, and then, they sort of got note and got wind of this, and then the government banned capoeira for a long time as well, but they would still sort of try and practice it underground. And it wasn't until 1932, like 1920s, when a guy called Mestre Bimba came around, and then he started to develop capoeira in a way that was able to be seen by the more authoritative figures to be something that was not just this dirty kind of Afro-Brazilian thing that people were doing, but actually put names to all these techniques and got a lot of people on board, from politicians to more wealthy people, to be able to come in and make it look like the art was not something that was just lower class. It was something that everybody could do, and something that Brazil could be really proud of. And they would be able to push forward as something that was a part of their culture. And so he was able to go to a lot of able to go to the president at the time in 1946 or something around there. And
Hmm.
eventually it became legalized again. So it sort of started to be developed and created as something that was not shameful for Brazil, but something to be proud of. Um, and then, in the 1970s or so, that's when it started really going abroad and becoming something that was just not just so underground, but started to spread all over the world. Uh, and now it's done in like over 150 countries around the world. So there's just
Right.
some of the groups are like, 40, 50,000 people in a group. It's just huge now. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's funny to kind of think back, in time with things that different governments would make illegal, and you're like, why? What's
Yeah.
like what? It's almost silly to think about that.
Yeah, it
So
is.
when you look at, and you'd be very qualified to answer this. So when you look at the different styles or methods of capoeira, are styles sort of delineated in the same way that we would think of styles in other martial arts, like different styles of karate or different styles of kung fu, or is it sort of different than that when you think of the different camps or styles of capoeira?
Yeah, so I kind of sort of look at it more like a tree, I guess. Like originally there was a style that they call capoeira or capoeiragem, which is what it was first created as. And then from there, there one of the style like and that was a lot of different teachers, a lot of different people who were doing this style of capoeira, but it was very individualized. So each teacher would teach their own method, their own way, but it wasn't like set up like a classroom or anything like that. It was uh, this is from what I've read anyway, over the years. They sort of just got together and and had a hotter, which is a circle of people, and they played some music, and then they just sort of played around and did this sort of thing. And then if you wanted to learn it, you would go into this circle and sort of get chucked in the deep end and try and have a play around kind of
Right.
thing. Um, and there would be someone who would be leading it and would be able to help teach it as they go. But then it was only until Mestre Bimba came around, um, and that's when he sort of went, no, actually, we got to try and systemize this thing and make it so that it was something that was able to really be identified. And because he came around, that style and that way of doing capoeira became its own separate, more popularized version of capoeira. And to delineate what it was from capoeiragem or variagem, they called it Capoeira Regional, or Luta Baiana Regional. Uh, so from there, then the older style were going, wait a second, like, capoeira isn't this capoeira regional thing. It's actually something a bit different. It's he's taking away a lot of the roots, he's taking away a lot of the traditions, he's making it into something that is more sort of Brazil focused. He's making it into this thing where you have to go to an academy and train it and have names for everything, all this stuff. And so there was this camp that didn't really like that. So
Yeah.
there was another guy who came along called Mestre Pastinha, and he became famous for his philosophy, for his way of being able to infuse this the older mentality of capoeira into this thing. So he created, well, it wasn't him exactly, but there was a group of people that created this style called Capoeira Angola, which became the second faction, third faction of what Capoeira became. And that was paying a little bit more respects to some of the older traditions, and trying to keep those intact. And the style became very different. So then there was the Capoeira Angola, Capoeira Regional, and then from there, then it started to spread and create all of these different kinds of ways of doing capoeira from there. So, but nowadays, most people just generally broadly go, what capoeira style do you do? It's either capoeira regional or capoeira Angola or a mixture of both. And then,
Mm.
but then there's a lot of different groups that will train, and each group will have a very distinct style normally. And they have this capoeira banguela, and then there's like a modern capoeira, and it's all very different ways of doing capoeira now. But generally speaking, they'll just go Capoeira Angola, Capoeira Regional, and to sort of identify Capoeira Angola, generally speaking, to an untrained eye, it's a little bit slower, it's a little bit lower to the ground. Capoeira Regional is a little bit faster and a little bit higher with a bit more sort of jumpy acrobatics and things like that. But that's just sort of to the untrained eye, because Capoeira Angola can be faster and it can be more acrobatic and it can be more martial arty and all of that sort of stuff too. And Capoeira Regional can also be slower and can be lower to the ground as well. So it's one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't generalize, because you'll find yourself being wrong, right? In certain
Yeah.
circumstances. Yeah. But
That's
it's
right. And
cool. I mean, it sounds like, its journey as a martial art has mirrored every other journey, which sounds like the human condition. Okay, this group says,
yeah.
"Hey, we've got to get this to where it's more accessible," and then you've got people who go, "Oh, now you've just diluted it and you've made it garbage," So it's like it's the I think every art, every sport, everything has seemed to have gone through that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess it's because, it's not the actual style of capoeira that people should be so focused on. It's actually the person, the person
Right.
teaching. The person's teaching infuses their own way of doing it, right? And that is what it becomes. It evolves because of the teachers, really.
Right.
Yeah. Um, but
Well, I
yeah,
like what you.
beautiful.
Sorry. Yeah, I liked what you had said about it, meaning that there's these different parts, and you can't extract those parts. You can't just do one part. So when you start capoeira, you're going to learn aspects of dance, and you're going to learn aspects of things that are sort of fighting technique, and you're going to learn even some acrobatics. Like I'm not going to do flips to the air, but you guys had me doing cartwheels. I mean, which is acrobatics for
Yeah,
me. So,
yeah, for
and
sure.
then I learned, like Joel taught me drum. How to
Mm.
accompany with drums. So is that something like someone's getting interested in capoeira? They know that you're going to learn how to play at least one instrument, and usually there's at least two, right? You got the berimbau, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah,
So
good job.
that's the stringed instrument, and then
Yes,
you
yes.
usually have like a drum, and then even maybe a gosh, what is it?
Pandero. Yeah,
Like
they
a
have a
tambourine.
tambourine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So I guess like in capoeira, like when I first started getting into it, I saw it and I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. I really love all the acrobatics. I really want to learn that. Like, but coming from that original karate background, I was like, oh, I would never use this in a fight and stuff. But it's deceptive,
Yeah,
because
yes.
it's not really always about the direct martial application. It's actually a little bit more about the attributes that you're developing. Um, and over time, I sort of started seeing that, and I saw a lot more fights in Capoeira too. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is this is actually really hardcore sometimes." So, but for me, when I first started getting into it, I had that sort of in of going, "This is what interests me, the acrobatics." But I wasn't as interested in the martial application. I wasn't as interested in the music. I wasn't as interested, I guess, in the cultural aspects and stuff. But over time, because I wanted to learn a bit more of the acrobatics, I had to also learn all these things that I originally didn't feel as drawn to. But the more I did them, the more I started loving the music. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. I really love this. And then I was like, oh, there is some really amazing martial arts techniques in here, and there's a really amazing way of moving, and it's really building my attributes as a martial artist too. And then, I was like, wow, there's so much culture infused into what this is, and it's something that I can actually take home with me, and it will give me something to really remember about Brazil. And every time I did capoeira back in Australia, I was like, oh my gosh, this just reminds me so much of Brazil, because it's just this completely different entity of things. So I feel like whatever avenue you come into capoeira with, like if you like the music more, you sort of start coming in from there, and then you start, I think, having to do all these other bits. And even though you might not originally like it at the start, I feel like the more you do it, the more you go, actually, this is incredible, you know?
Yeah,
And so it
yeah.
really forces you to do all these different things that you wouldn't normally do, and then fall in love with all of them and build you up as a human being, really.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of the more fun things because that's why I said I tell parents when they sign their kids up for Little Dragons at the academy. I said you are seeing part of what we do. The other thing Guru Dan does is he brings people in, and so your kids get these guest instructors that make us adults just jealous all the time. And I said one of the fun things is our mutual friend Clarell will come in and do capoeira with them. And I said,
Yeah.
this is, you see the most engagement from kids with this because he is doing music with them, the acrobatics, and the martial art part. So you see, every kid might not be good at one or two of those things, but they're good at least one. They might not be good at
Mm.
all three. So there's a part of that thing that engages all of them at some point, and it's really kind of fun to watch that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And like you were saying before, in capoeira they have the berimbau, which is like a one-stringed harp kind of
Yeah,
instrument that originally came from Africa, and then one of the oldest instruments in the world, they say, and they use it for Brazil.
And this concludes the abbreviated version of the podcast. Please consider supporting the program by going to www.patreon.com/malmag and subscribing to the show. You can also purchase this individual episode or any individual episode at our Gumroad page. That's malmag.gumroad.com. Thank you for listening to this episode with Chan Griffin. Coming up next week, I connect to Orlando, Florida, and I talk to one of my oldest sparring partners, Elisa Lamido. Our Malmag online store at martialartslifestylemagazine.com has a full selection of Timmy B's brand sticks for FMA and Krabi Bong. Timmy B's brand now selling in Japan as well. Beautiful Timmy B's brand shirts and Dos Manos shirts are available. We also have sarongs, malongs, and wooden training knives. An online course in the Dos Manos method for FMA is available under the Courses tab. More courses coming soon. Check out the Places to Train tab to find schools near you, and click on the Events Calendar page to see what seminars and events are happening all around the world. And of course, visit our main page for articles on the martial arts. Music by Arthur J. Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine and the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast are trademarked and copyrighted by TNT LLC.